practicing. They have been in the player lounge going against each other, even in creative, you know, doing 1v1s, 2v2s. And I mean, there's so much to see. I really just can't wait.
So much to see, so much to do, and I can feel the energy in the arena right now. But Zeke, please take it away. We're too hyped.
Bro, I'm right there with you, man. I just cannot wait to see all of the action unfold before our very eyes. We're almost there. Just a couple little things before we start the battle bus on its journey. I wanted to highlight another duo, Cammy and Seti, right? For you longtime EU fans as well, you know these guys recently just won a DreamHack. They've literally came in first and second place in a solos competition. They were the best 2 players at the tournament.
You know, and the thing that I love about Cammy and Seti is that individually, they kind of remind me of myself, right? That really slow, methodical game play style. They're not going to go for anything too flashy, anything too risky. They're just going to play their game out and play that top 10, top 5 consistent every single game because they are laying at that mid-map spot uncontested.
Yeah, the infamous Cammy split, as everybody in EU and just about the world has basically come to know. Exactly, but I am curious to see how their surge management actually unfolds throughout the entirety of Chapter 3. I don't think that they really had too many issues with it, but it is important to note that for this duo specifically, they don't really like fighting early. And, well, fortunately, having an uncontested drop spot can definitely feed into that. So naturally, you want to wonder where their points are going to come from or where their surge management is going to come from. And I think that that is something that they're largely just going to have to control throughout their mid-game.
Yeah, they also have to be very, very careful when they're landing there in the center of the map. There are a lot of teams landing around them, especially, you know, we think about Tilted Towers right to the left of kind of where they're landing. And then also center map, you know, Cold and Sentinel are expected to be contested there at that loot lake kind of area. So if any of those teams kind of want to disengage from some of those early spawn fight situations, they could easily run over to the split that Cammy and Seti are looking to take and maybe gather up some loot themselves, which could force a fight. And that's really disadvantageous for Cammy and Seti because they're going to be split, right? They're at these split drops, so they're usually off on their own.
And I think what you're getting at is adaptability, right? These duos being able to moment say, we had a game plan, we did not find the chest, we did not find the thing, we got tagged, someone has pushed on our like location, we need to change up something. What does that look like, man, right? Like, if this was EU FNCS, I'm like, oh yeah, no problem, I got all the notes for you, but it's NA East, it's NA West, it's Asia, BR, OCE, you know, there's so many other regions that you have to kind of be accounting for. And not only their own meta, it's that duo, right? Like, oh, I know they're from BR and they do this, oh great.
I mean, listen, you're bringing up a great point there, right? Like, how? You don't have many notes on a lot of these teams because they're just around for the entire world, right? And that's why international events are held at such a high praise because they're just straight up hard. The competition from all around the world, it's harder to play against people that you don't normally play against.
And the competitive lobby metas that you'll often see break out throughout the course of each of these 12 games in this weekend, I think that that is going to be a really crucial aspect for some of these teams to hone in on. We know that these players have been cramming VOD review leading up to today. We know that they're going to be doing plenty more of it after these 6 games are even played tonight. But as far as Cammy and Seti are concerned, just touching back on them, I like the fact that you brought up the early game engagements because honestly, their all-time record, by the way, first 3 zones, they have a less than 5% of elim scoring throughout those first 3 zones. So they don't like the early game engagements.
That is absolutely crazy indeed. You know, a duo I feel like could be a dark horse in the competition that I really want to see kind of win it all. It's Acorn and Edgy. Edgy over in NA has come second place. So close so many times. Paired up with Acorn. Look, we know this duo is absolutely incredible. They are some of the toppest caliber duo that NA has to offer. But Edgy just hasn't been able to grasp that #1 spot. And what I feel like for me to come out of this event and say, I'll walk away with the Swarovski trophy, baby, that'd be pretty sweet.
Look at Edgy waving. What's up, Edgy? Listen. Edgy loves it, man. You know, we're laughing at him getting, you know, second place 4 times. He himself, laughs about it. Look at it. I wonder where he's landing. He has the picture of himself there. We've seen it a couple of times now. Tilted Towers. And look, they were being real confident coming into this event. Unfortunately, they are contested by a plethora of other teams over at Tilted Towers. I really think that if they were uncontested, they could probably run away with this event. We'll have to see what happens. I still think it's possible. I think it's a little bit less likely, but I was watching Acorn, you know, yesterday, last night, even into the later night, 10, 11 o'clock. He was still VOD reviewing all the way up until then, so I'd love to see the practice coming out of this duo.
But it's the fact that there's 5 duos at Tilted Towers, and literally none of them are willing to budge from this spawn. They all want their piece of the pie here at Tilted Towers, and whether or not this engagement could end up being worthwhile for the duo that even walks away, because when you think about it, Vivid, there might have to be a ton of resources expended.
Yeah, we cannot forget. Here they are, Queasy Vino. We talked about them at the beginning of the show, and like a circle, we find ourselves back at the beginning. I mean, what more could we possibly say about this duo? They've basically been winning everything as of late. Queasy is looking in absolute top form. Vino has been crushing it. He's ready to go.
You want to know something? So I used to be a professional player. Now I'm an analyst, right? Both are very heavy when it comes to the VOD reviews. I pretty much have just done it for the past 5 years. Very intense. I love it. It's awesome. I have never watched a VOD review and been like, wow, I am impressed on an individual level. Because I've been at the top before, right? You know what I mean? I've seen pretty much everything that these players can do.
You're still first in our hearts, Vivid.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Vino, I VOD reviewed him for this event. It's an international event. I'm typically on the NAE side of things, but you know, let me dabble in EU so that way I'm prepared for this event. I'm watching Vino. Individually, like I said, I've never been impressed. I was impressed. He seems so clean. Every single action that he does, it seems like it has a purpose, and I genuinely have never seen that out of an individual player ever.
There's a reason why he's often regarded as one of the best fraggers in Fortnite competitive history right now. And not only that, but he's got a perfect IGL to match that. Queasy is notorious for being an absolute genius for his IGLing. And I think something that I love about Queasy is that his stats also speak for themselves, because you don't go the past 7 seasons getting a victory royale dating all the way back to Chapter 2 or Chapter 2 Season 6 without being a consistent IGLer. He just knows how to stay cool, calm, and collected in every single competitive environment.
And I love the fact that you're bringing up the IGLing aspect, right? You know, a lot of these dudes are going to be making a lot of calls. Queasy, what he is known for is his very clean, high ground takes. It just always seems so methodical and flawless whenever he does it. So the pairing is very, very well. But then that's not even like one of the most exciting parts is they always seem to find those mid-game dead side rotations that work out so well that keep them alive into the end game very consistently.
And it's kind of like having a silver bullet, right? You have Vino there ready to go. If you're Queasy, you're just thinking, okay, I need to go accomplish this goal. I'm going to point my silver bullet in a direction. There's an enemy over there I don't like. Vino, why don't you just go 1v2 them for us and then bring their loot and ammo back and builds, and then I'm going to be up on high ground, okay? I'll see you in 30 seconds.
So
that's not a joke.
I'm laughing because, you know, 1v2s, right? They seem impossible, especially on the international stage. But no, like, literally, Vino, he just does it so often, and I cannot wait to get to the game.
That's right. Guess what? Ladies and gentlemen, Fortnite fans, we're ready. The battle bus is all ready. The players are on board. So let's do this. It's game number 1. Here we go. It is time. It's one just big moment away from really kicking it off. All that preparation, we're going to have to put it into it. The battle bus is ready. Let's go, Jacob.
It is time. Game number 1 of the FNCS Invitational starts right now. 27 different countries are represented. 88 different champions. Overall, this is just amazing.
And just look at the concentration on the players' faces as they start to populate onto this world. Put yourself into their shoes. Imagine the pressure as you are jumping off the battle bus here. We already know what's in store for us. It's going to be an incredible amount of action, as we know there are so many contested drop spots.
Yeah, and already looking at the drop path, one of the biggest ones is going to be over towards Rave Cave, where you have Commandment and Avery, the most recent NA East FNCS champions. They're a little contested. Not going to be a hot fight right out of the gates against Thomas, HD, and Triprin, because right now they're just getting that early game done and ready.
That's right. And it is going to be so important for everyone who is contested to take and walk in the path of caution. You cannot allow yourself to make any risk. Up at Chrome Jam Junction, we already know there's several players on top of each other. Tilted Towers, remember, 5 duos contesting this area, some of which are the most notable: Bad Sniper, Noah Riley, Acorn, Edgy, Babs, and Snacky just to the south.
That's such a stacked stage. You might as well call that the Legends Landing, let me tell you. But see Snacky over on the side. You're talking about Bad Sniper as well, but one of our hottest drops with EU's biggest names. Cloudy, Kondo, Feet haven't even touched the ground yet, but it does look like it's going to be Malibuka and Murstache on the ground first.
Malibuka, of course, representing for Russia. Murstache for Latvia. We got Aqua here and Rezon, our high ground kings. One of the most respected set of duos right here. If they really cut loose, they make endgame, it's over. You're gonna see Aqua playing for that big high ground play. And look at how they are respecting the area. Everyone making sure they are solidifying their foundation right before they really decide to make a fight.
Yeah, but look at Malibuca's loot already. A green prime, a blue Evo chrome burst. He's ready to pack a punch at a moment's notice. He's probably waiting for Merstash to probably give him the go-ahead, but another inter-regional battle over towards Grim Gables.
Now what's crazy about this, I got to sit down with Muzz and Looter. They are feeling exceptionally confident in beating Larson and Smite, but you have to put yourself into this kind of position right now. There's pressure all around you. To me, it's looking like Larson and Smite have the advantage right now. Just take a look at the focus right here, right? This little bit of high ground, they have them almost trapped down below.
Yeah, and the thing is, right now, Larson is a little bit separated from Smite. That is a little bit towards low ground. You know as well as I do, all it takes is 1 second of separation to kind of do one of these teams in, as Marine and Vico over here towards Reality Tree. Another contested drop. But you can see this is only game number 1. Nobody wants to put it all on the line just yet, but I might have spoke too soon. Larson would get it. Taking down a ton of damage on the Muzz. Looter trying to back him up, and it looks like they got the first elimination of FNCS.
Down goes Larson, and the quick finish for Looter. OCE gets to claim the first on the show today. It's Smite now, left with the pressure of the world on his shoulders. Can he escape these OCE players? It doesn't look very possible. We all know from the past experience that Looter and Muzz are some of the fastest and deadliest when it comes down to these engagements, and they're hip to hip right now.
Yeah, Smite right now, he has to figure out a way to just really stay alive, and it looks like Muzz and Looter, they're trying to decide right now, Monster, do you continue to try to fight against Smite as he's looking to try to get that reboot card onto Larson as the third-party shots are beginning to come in from the distance. And that's the thing, you know as well as I do, any drop that's contested and you have that early game fight, and especially it builds just like this, there are so many teams that are going to look at you to get their surge.
Now in the past, Smite has been known to walk away with at least 1 elim in every single major game. This time might actually break his streak that he's been on, but Muzz and Looter, take a look at the respect here to play cautious, take their time, and not overcommit even in the 2v1. That's the respect, but let's get to the real battle. Cloudy Kondo, Tayson, Chapix taking on this big duo toe-to-toe. It's Merstash and Malibuca, who have a 73%, 78% win ratio. When contested, the odds are not looking good. The third party in the distance, Aqua's up on high ground. They're positioning for the fight.
Yeah, Breeze on A and Aqua, they have that high ground, just put damage onto 2 different players. They're like eating at a buffet right now when it comes to Storm Surge, but in the feed, Mr. Savage is down. On one and Baka from NA West. They're trying to take control of that POI, but all 3 teams are here. But you got to keep notice, while all the action is going down between Malibuca and Merstash, you see Aqua and Reason just trying to keep their distance.
Crazy how they fight back. They are not just allowing this team to third party them. Reason gets super hurt there, and it looks like the battles in the distance get to conclude. But here and now this fight rages on here. Reason all of a sudden has such an advantageous position, right? And lands all those shots. The entire tables have turned.
Yeah, and it does look like the NA West, Baka and On1 have solidified. Chrome Jam jumps into their self. Down goes Mr. Savage. Down goes iDrop. NA West makes some noise.
That's right. And now for Jace in Basil, another team that was contested in the early kind of situation, but it seems like they've won themselves some space. They're vibing out. Look at the Storm Surge tags here as they start to fight back the teams that are out on the outer edges here. What a great spot to be, especially with the zone housed right on top of them. They have so much going for them now that they don't have to worry about that. Whoa, a big fight though. On1 gets back. That's the replay there. I love that we got to catch that.
And you can see the strategy coming out from On1 and Baka. They switched up their drop spots this weekend. It's not like they've been practicing there all season long. They're just adapting on the fly. As you see Booga, Mira, we already talked about the uncontested drop spot of Chonkers Speedway. The zone is kind of above them, and they're one of those teams that just waste no time trying to figure out what that game plan is. They're going to try to get to zone and then worry about surge when all those other teams that are south and east of them have to go past them.
And the Middle Eastern, one of the few representatives of the Middle East community here in Andelest. What a monumental task to step up here and for the first time ever compete with a duo. So we love to see what we have going on here. So much representation of all of our spaces. You know what I saw, which was in the feed as well? Japan versus Brazil. Looks like Peppo found one too. So little exchanges happening everywhere. As now we jump over to Vino. Vino and Queasy, some of the best at Shiny Sound.
Yep, you see them just going for their own Surge. This is going to be one of the wildest lobbies we've ever seen. If you're down on Surge at any point in the game, you're forced to play catch up to all these elite teams who know exactly how to handle their own Surge if they are above. But one of the big teams, one of the favorites to possibly take the competition overall, Janice and Vadil, Greasy Grove, uncontested, and everybody knows what they can do uncontested.
Janice is the only European player to have ever picked up an FNCS in solos, trios, and duos. 3 different game modes, such a decorated team that we have together. That's our German powerhouses. As we jump over to Anas and Pink, what a team right now. Remember, they were contesting Clicks and Duke down at the Joneses. It seems like things might have slowed down for them. They've been a bit more passive. There's a single Elim, though, right inside there, too, so that's a pickup.
Yeah, and for a lot of these teams today, this is just game number 1. The nerves right now, they're just feeling each other out, trying to figure out how everybody's playing, and then they're going to adapt as soon as this one gets at least toward the mid-game, probably towards the end game. It's going to get super exciting very, very quick. As Merstash, Malibuka, that fight done and over with. They know it's about the resource, about matting up and setting yourself up for later on.
And I love that you say that because what they have that the other teams don't, tons of accessibility to the metal.
Yep.
You see how their metal resources really starting to cap out there. Tayson and Chapix, though, they're going to give up the drop. They say, hey, enough is enough. We've, kind of gotten our hands dirty. Let's go and move out. And you notice that they also managed to take home the metal as well. Everything else, man, you can find it on your way out, right? It's the toughest resource to rebuild back is that metal when you are at the drop spot. So this is a team, they'll bounce back.
Yeah, and it's also one of the first materials that you use when really trying to defend yourself. As Zagu and Miram just kind of looting up the Greasy Grove, whatever Janice and Vadil left behind. And there's actually a lot of the teams that landed in Rave Cave a little bit north that are trying to rotate towards this slower side of zone. And right now, everybody are just stuck in zone because nobody wants to bite off more than they can chew.
This is our current reigning champions of the Japanese region, representing for Japan of the Asia region here. Now we jump over to Ed and King. One of the most explosive duos. We talked about Ed's history, how much he's really risen to the challenge, improving season after season. Now paired up with King, they have such a fun history here. They have engaged against one another multiple times in FNCS in seasons past. Now they get to play together.
Yeah, kind of rotating all the way from north, Chrome Jam Junction. They find themselves a sweet spot. But a team that has so much experience together, but years ago, now reuniting for the Invitational, Macwood and Kanata. And let me tell you, in some of those practice games, Monster, that uncontested drop spot that Kanata and Macwood have proven to be fruitful. They got first place in scrims, and now they're here to try to replicate that on the biggest stage.
Only 2 duos have fallen, and now another steps into the position here to possibly take a fight, but no. Bevies and Vortexer know a little bit better. They're going to land right behind Chapix. They find Tayson out by himself. A great shot here, and now he steps up. But smarter to go ahead and defensively poise up here. No need to get too antsy.
Yeah, not just yet, at least. You can't really get too busy too early. There's so many players that right now, you see 95 left alive. When Storm Surge actually activates Monster, this is probably going to be one of the most scariest things I've seen in Fortnite in quite a while.
That is true, and Bevies and Vortexers are really considering peeking out. Now, one thing we spoke about with the professional players is that one thing you don't do is open those big boxes and peek for too long. If there's ever a time to do it, you can do it here in the early game kind of situation while you have some time. But while we have some time, let's just go ahead and catch up with Mini Miner.
Not quite there, Tokata, but close enough. I got you, Monster. We're going to be taking a look at North Shiny Sounds, where we have a fan-favorite duo, Queasy and Vino. I find it interesting how they were playing split up here. Queasy was on the low ground, taking shots from opposing duos, but Vino, up above on the balloon, was able to get free tags on the opposing duos that were looking at Queasy, and having this split mentality in the drop spot is crucial for getting those free tags and able to set yourself up for that late game.
An amazing breakdown there, Jacob.
Yeah, one thing that I didn't really mention it. Did you see the 15 splashes on them. Yeah. These guys are ready for that end game. If you have that much heals, that's going to allow you, if you are down on Surge, to kind of handle it. Fabs and Stacky, FNCS champion West, hurting on Storm Surge right now, trying to get themselves back up. But it does look like the fight, maybe the dust have settled, and this is the aftermath. As you see, yeah, Fabs does have one elimination, 36 above the damage threshold. Even though right now they have a little bit of comfortability, that threat is still looming in the back of their minds.
That's right, and they rolled up, they took down a team there, and now they get to go ahead and reap the rewards. They needed those tags, but that's not going to be enough. There's a little bit more in front of them. A team that's well below the Surge right now, our full Middle Eastern duo, Spy and Focus, are sitting here, and it's not looking too hot. 220 damage below. I had so much time to catch up with Spy. He is an incredible, and I mean incredible player, but this is one of those decisions that you have to make now.
No
Who do you pick
Riley.
the fight? There's no easy one. Now we have EU versus NA West. Noah Riley, Bad Sniper, Epic Will, and Reed on the other side of the wall.
This one is going to get close because Reed, I already talked about, he loves to fight. Epic Will loves to fight as well, but Epic Will is also that IGL, that 6-time champion. He knows when and where to pick his battles in every single one of these situations. So he's probably talking to him right now, get the pre-edit ready, but he's 137 below. This is why they're not abandoning the fight. They have damage to do.
Epic Will and Reed have around a 70+% win ratio when taking on these early game fights in these early zones. It's looking very good for them, but the Surge, no one can beat the Surge. That is going to be inevitable damage in the coming seconds. So this is why this fight's so important. Down comes the Chug Heal. They're just going to run and sit there, try to get as much health as possible. Meanwhile, in the distance, Threats and Alice are starting to put shots in. So this is not a fight that's not, being interfered with. Reed's going to fall first. Epic Whales by himself. Shots come in. Noah Riley wastes no time. They pounce in, and they're hunting now. Reed's on the run. Shots from the side. Who will steal away this elimination here? Someone has to get it in there. It is. They close things up and finish it off quickly, and just like that, EU comes out on top.
Oh my god, but the action is just all over. Basil, Jace, they're out as well. That's Pink and Anas who pick up 2 more. And I even saw moments ago that Booga went down. The elimination feed is just lighting up. Pars and Rays go down as well. This one is getting active very fast, but that's because of the Storm Surge. But this is something I feel like all of us preface just a little bit. Handling that Storm Surge is going to be so important throughout these 12 games.
Kanata and Macwood take down Booga and Miro in the feed. It is done. It is wrapped. Meanwhile, Asia's champions are finding some too, but KBR and Zeke, representing for Brazil, are here, and they need more tags. They're just 8 above. Well played for them to go ahead and find a few to keep them in the game, but let's get on over to that fight that is inevitably gonna continue. Tayson versus Chapix.
And this is exactly what happens when you split it, though. They split that drop spot. They weren't able to get the early damage. Down goes Chapix. Tayson under pressure. HP getting dropped, and there he goes. Back to the lobby. Vadil and Janice do it again.
From teammates to enemies, Janice takes down Tayson in the zone. Just like that, it is over. Now, we jump on over to Onwon and Baka. 3 elims. NA West, one of the few hopes for NA West this weekend right here. Talk to me about how they managed to surge over Mr. Savage and iDrop, and now they're picking it up.
Just honestly talking to them before this as they were preparing, and when they finally made that decision to switch up their drop spot, they had a choice. Do you contest Hen and Vortex? Do you contest Joe and Z Andy? They said no. They want to take one of the biggest names in Europe. They want to go against Mr. Savage and iDrop, and already it's proving to be fruitful. On one coming from Mexico. This guy is a legend from NA West, and honestly, it's been just a few seasons and he's already making a name for himself.
That's right, and way to do it on the international stage now when it matters. Now we jump on over to Chicho and Trulix here. What a great spot to be in, my God. Yeah. Finding beautiful tags here, holding the team out on the side. Meanwhile, Vadil and Janice look like they have finally made it from outside the storm line. Tough spot to be in. You have a lot of water here, very little land terrain to work with, and take a look in the distance there. You see the stacking starting to happen. Meanwhile, on the other side, some of the NA East best, Edgy and Acorn. Now what's cool about this duo here is that Edgy and Acorn quite literally said, hey, the better the lobby skill-wise, the better I will perform. That is how much experience he's picked up in the past from practicing against the best of the best lobby.
And already, if you look at their loot right now, that 5-team contestation coming out of Tilted Towers, honestly, didn't do too much. 256 above the damage threshold as well. Shots continue to fire. fire off onto Ju. He goes down. Elimination's going to be cleaned up to Acorn. They get 2 to their total. And his teammate, U3, goes down as well. That's going to be Vidil, no Riley, picking up some more eliminations as well.
What a quick way to finish that one off. And there's a problem here. We have Baka and On1 sitting on the walls. If NA East champions are most recent of Avery and Commandment, you can see they've actually taken a lot of damage here. They were just below the Surge quite a bit ago, and yes, more damage is starting to come in. It's only a matter of time now for them. They will have to take a fight. That's no easy fight on the other side of the wall, but first tags there are going to go to the side of the NA East boys.
Yeah, On1 and Baka right now, they just need to play their game. They are down on Storm Surge in terms of Commandment and Avery, 65 above. Those traded shots, actually, I wish On1 and Baka would have just stayed in the box, because honestly, if they would have just waited a little bit longer, Storm Surge would have had these guys almost down and out, and they could have easily cleaned those up. But right, they're just playing safe. They just want to go ahead and make it towards their end game, because this is one of the teams. They finished second in the last FNCS of NA West. They know how to fight with the best of them.
This is what it's all about. We show up for big moments like this. Can you step up to the plate? We are just moments away from the game becoming extremely difficult. The zone is only getting tighter and tighter. And take a look at how many players have huge pressure, rapid and endless now. And they have Clicks and Duke sitting above them. Macwood and Kanata starting to look down as well. They're off to a hot start. That is one of the teams to look out for. Meanwhile, a single Elam already for Clicks on the other side. So they've survived the drop. A huge shot. Clicks finds a 1. They're on to Intellect in the finish. 2. Clicks and Duke managed to get 2 more eliminations. Oh my gosh.
Hey, you got to give him credit, though. He said it himself. He has that World Cup experience teamed with an FNCS champion in Duke, his first time in an in-person event, and he's already loving the environment. Even though he didn't take that off-spawn fight, it was so that he can make it toward this end game and continue to do things like that.
Alice and Threats, they're communicating with a translator between them. NA East and Japan playing with each other, but hold up. Vidil, Janice, this is a problem. One of our favorites. When you look online, you look at Twitter, you look at what everyone is putting together for a top 10 list. You expect this team to do so well in game 1 and already broken apart.
Yeah, Janice was down inside of the storm. Vidil really couldn't go and save him. He has no HP really to regain. Dash and Malabuka, another one of those teams towards Cloudy Condos who are nobody really fought it off spawn. They got some tags and left. 31 below. The pressure is on. They're so close to zone, but they can't necessarily travel to zone because they have to worry about Storm Surge that's actually doing a ton of damage.
31 below. Not looking good, Jacob. Tags are coming in. Clock is ticking. They do have heals. They can survive for a little bit more, but you hear the shots raging everywhere as the lobby turns online. Vidil fires back. He catches Macwood in the feed. That must have been incredible, and that's happening right above us. Meanwhile, turning the story around, Vidil is known as one of the greatest box fighters, literally made his name known for taking on fights and destroying players across Europe. Let's take a look at that one more time.
Yep, you see Vidil just kind of peeking through the cone, catching Macwood off guard. And honestly, it looked like Macwood was going to try to do the same to him, peeking through that cone. You better watch where you peek. Aseti and Cammy, another favorite to probably take the top spot here in this event. 306 above the damage threshold. They're still continuing to put that pressure on the lobby. That's exactly what you got to do when you make it to endgame, especially if you're a team that doesn't fight off spawn.
Becoming Legends, Cammy and Seti have 2 launch pads. They have material. They have heals. This just might be their game. Well, let's jump on over to Seat. KBR. How's it going here? 132. They have Z, Andy, and Joe have been on the other side of the wall. It's going to be a tough one. 23 duos remaining here. The surge is still active. And now as the timer hits 0 and the zone reveals itself, we're going to start entering into the first moving zone territory. These next 25 seconds are going to be some of the toughest they have ever had to deal with. Remember, for some on this stage, this is their first LAN, an in-person event that they have ever experienced here, and they get to play it out now.
And this is where you talked about some of the players that had rotation. It is going to be so important. You see where the zone pulls. There's different elevations that these players are going to have to traverse through. If you don't have any sort of rotation, you're going to have to figure out how to recycle it. Otherwise, you're going to be living a nightmare.
Vidil, he has a launch pad. He's going to play for it. High ground. The first ones to go is Vino and Queasy. This is where you expect them to be. They're up top where they are so comfortable. Now, can they hold it all the way? The in there and commit the map. They're going to go in and switch it up. Merstash on the low ground down to 40 HP, but he still has some movement to work with.
You can see him, he's just peeking through the cone, gathering that information. He has a launch pad as well. He can easily try to find his way through, but there's so many players stacked all around him. They don't want to make it easy, but 28 above the damage threshold. He's not only looking for the perfect rotation, he's looking for some players to put some shots on, but a high ground goes over to Peppo.
Whoa, Asia on height now too. This is big. That's something you did not expect, but Vino and Queasy are now looking up, take the side to go for it. They land on top of Asia, and it's all or nothing now. Vino fights for it. The wall gets edited. It's not quite his. It's a battle on all fronts here. Can they win it off? And he does just enough. Vino and Queasy have managed to fight back for high ground in the first game of the FNCS Invitation.
Yep, and there goes. I saw it in the feed. Vadil and Janice, their run came to an end. Vico picking up Anas and Merstash.
Whoa.
Two different players. Alice is trying to break through. 118 below the damage threshold. He knows he cannot stay in one place too long. Trying to reunite with Threats, but he goes down as well. Storm Surge really eating these guys alive. Alice has to do something, but the options are so thin. He doesn't know what to do. Finally finding one player, puts the shot on. Storm Surge still going wild. He's below, but that siphon coming through just in the nick of time to keep him alive.
He is alive. He takes down the run, steps into the zone, and look at this. A huge pickup now. That's going to buy him more time. That could be the absolute difference. Meanwhile, Seti and Cammy playing their game. Pamstu and Fash still alive as well. High ground has Queasy and Vino. Logren has Chicho and Trulix playing and leading the front side of zone. There's not a player in sight. Clix is still alive now, working his way through. He has lost his teammate. The full finish comes through. It might be all or nothing now. He still has so much left in the tank.
Yeah, but I'm not too worried about him because of him and Duke's high placement last FNCS was because of solo clutches from that man himself. And talk about solos. Joe gets one as Andy goes down. Shots coming in from the high ground. Pressure is there, but Joe's trying to find his way to the front side of zone, but it's a hard journey trying to find it. 12 HP, continuing to drop. Shots still coming in. He's going to find a moment of an oasis to try to stabilize and figure out what's the next play.
Cammy and Seti find their way to the high ground. Down goes Clix to the hands of Cammy. That's a huge one. Hello, Vino. You have to turn and run. Cammy wants to hear nothing about that noise right there. Meanwhile, Seti's keeping eyes on the general area. Very solid. Chicho fighting his way, but no. An edit comes through. It's Zagu and Mareem, who's right above them there. Our FNCS champions of Asia are still here. Down goes Pamstu as well. What a huge elimination here.
The top 7 duos alive. 11 players total left in this game. One of them being Seti and Cammy towards the high ground. The analyst desk called it. These guys don't play too many early game fights. They wait for this end game and for every opportunity. But Acorn, he's trying to sneak some extra points. He has the med miss sitting in the zone. Vino doing the same, but he's almost all out of opportunity.
This is absolutely what you expect of the best players in the world coming together for this invitational here to have this opportunity to step up to the plate, represent for your region. This is what it's all about. Vino by himself just working his way, ratting his way through the build. Acorn is as well. There's a set of major points separating them. Vino looks to high ground. He says, I'm not going to allow you to just sit there and focus me. Trulex is meanwhile in the low, looking for something to do here, turning builds into Chrome. Remember, he can slip through any one of these now. Becoming desperate.
He's just trying to reinforce a little bit of the builds that are around him so nobody can quickly edit through and try to pick that shot. Miram and Zagu, they don't have that high ground, but they have that mid layer trying to find that comfortability. Brino, only 2 HP, no med miss left. He's going to have to try to find a siphon here, but no, he gets dropped. Acorn finds another one from the outside of zone.
7 elims for Mareem and Zagu, representing for Asia here, looking great. Meanwhile, Yumi and Cool are getting one step closer now to taking this fight. A huge shot out to Mareem. He's going to feel that one as he plays defensively, but Zagu is here to back him up. They're going hand in hand. The fight breaks out. They clap back. Down.
Oh my gosh!
Cool steps up to the plate. We are now down to 3 duos in the end game, 2 solos and a duo up top.
Carrying that momentum from last season's FNCS, but he has so much more work to do. Seti and Cammy, the only duo left in the game is Acorn staying alive. Still 4 eliminations on the back of Cool, trying to find his way through. But like I said, there's only one duo team, and they have the high ground and the recipe for success.
You cannot write a better story for becoming legends. Seti is fighting back. Cammy is fighting back. They're looking to get inside. There goes the elim they were looking for. Just one player separates them, but Acorn will not survive. And Seti and Cammy take game number 1.
Poland is the first country to take FNCS Invitational stage. These guys have came to play through and through.
What a fairy tale beginning for these absolute veterans, GOATs, some of the hardest workers we have ever seen enter into the ecosystem, becoming legends. Seti and Cammy must be absolutely proud. Acorn and Edgy, they were just incredible. Wait for Acorn to truly step up to the table there and clutch this one out. And he said it, put me in the best lobbies, I will put up the numbers.
Yeah, and for him, that's a little bit of a success, even though he didn't get the victory royale. Staying alive as long as he did, getting extra eliminations, and getting that top placement, that is just insane. But let's go ahead and throw it over to an interview with the winners.
Okay for you guys? Yeah. I am with our Game 1 winners. Give it up for Cammy and Seti! I must ask, what, Dzień dobry, first and foremost. Dzień dobry. Obviously, Game 1 winners, how was that being out there and winning in front of this amazing crowd?
It's amazing. I love the atmosphere here. It's really nice having a crowd again.
Excellent. And also, obviously, high ground reigns supreme. Once you had the high ground there, able to maintain, do you think that was the difference maker? You felt comfortable being above the rest of the teams?
Like, we knew that high team doesn't have much, so we just took it.
You took it. Going into the next game, much of the same? Do you have to constantly change strategy, or did it feel good playing against the rest of the world?
It feels good. It feels pretty easy. I'm not like denying the competition, but it feels really nice playing here. And yeah, we're just going confident into game 2. Still have to be consistent to the end of the tournament, then that's it.
Excellent stuff. Once more time, guys, give it up your Game 1 winners, Cammy and Seti! Good stuff. Let's head back over to our man, Zeke on the desk.
Thank you guys so much. Game number 1 is taken by EU. This is going to be a tough one for everybody else. EU, let's represent, baby! Cammy and Seti, though, come out huge in game number 1. What's crazy, too, for a moment there, we watched Queasy and Vino go for height in 6th moving, right? But it's not them who end in height. It's Cammy and Seti.
It's crazy, big development there. I can't believe Cammy and Seti are the ones that actually end up on the high ground. I love the fact that you mentioned that there were a little bit of flip-flopping going on the high ground. Somehow Cammy and Seti, probably the least likely to, in my opinion, to find themselves up there, do so well played coming from them. And also, not to mention, this end clip right here doesn't even tell the full story. Seti goes down in that mid game, and Cammy clutches up 1v2, which is why he has so many eliminations coming into this. And then to close it out here, just 2 separate solos, and they make easy work of them.
It was right around the start of Zone 8 that we saw Cammy just sweep Queasy completely off guard there on the flank. Didn't seem as though Queasy was fully aware of the fact, because there were so many teams trying to challenge that high ground at once, but it was Cammy and Seti who actually successfully walked away with it, and they just had so many builds. That vertical play throughout the entirety of 8th and 9th zone, there was just nothing anyone else could do about it.
And the thing that I love, right, is we came into this game and we were like, who's going to be nervous, who's going to be confident? I have never been able to tell if somebody is confident. After winning game number 1 of an invitational, it seemed like there was like no expression coming out of Cammy and Seti. There was like, yeah, that's expected.
That's what they're used to, right? That's how they won the most recent DreamHack. This is almost like, it's like their life is on repeat, but this time instead of DreamHack, it's FNCS Invitational, right? I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts. We saw a lot of like self-regional eliminations, right? EU eliminating EU, yeah. NA eliminating NA. It was kind of crazy. I'm surprised there wasn't more, I guess, intermingling.
Big battles going on here, and it's really close towards the top of this leaderboard. Of course, Cammy and Seti finding themselves at the top. They're getting that victory royale, securing 44 points. The early lead after game number 1, but NA West also representing here, going down in that third place position, getting 42 points on the back of so many eliminations.
But it was actually the 4th place position. Noah Riley, Bad Sniper, they're walking away with 8 elims. That is a good chunk of points that they were able to compensate for, despite not being able to close things out. And I think ultimately we saw in the first 3 zones a little bit more EU heavy as far as the elim fee was concerned.
Yeah,
but
sure.
by the time we hit that mid game, it seemed as though all of NA and some of the international regions just really started to hit their stride, because everything just started lighting up immediately.
A lot of these players, right, they're using this initial game as a kind of a feeler, right? Let's just kind of see how this all works and everyone the land looks like, and then we'll look to go ahead and fight back. But real quick, we have a mini miner standing by. What you got for us?
Thanks so much, Zeke. Now, we want to be taking a deep dive into one of our duos that have been deep diving into the dead side of Zone. And to reveal this massive screen right behind me, we're going to be talking, of course, about Commandment and Avery, our reigning NA East FNCS champions. We can see them on the screen right there, the little white arrows, and they've made a really, really interesting rotate this game. We can see the path that they are going to take using all the way on that dead side of Zone. Now, you might be wondering, what is the benefits of dead side? Now, you can see on the map, loads of those little arrows are on this side of Zone, right? And this is the area that most teams are going to be at, because most of the POIs are going to be rotating into there. We can see Commandment and Avery using the sort of the mid-map rotation, right? You can see the in-game rotation devices, you can see the launch pads being used, you can see the balloons, and of course, you can see the slipstreams as well, and you can see them getting to this less congested side of Zone. Nobody's there. What's going on? They have a free rotation, but of course, this comes with some problems, right? We saw them struggling with Surge in that previous game. It didn't quite work out the way that they were expecting. They weren't able to find as many players as they could, so the benefits for them are, of course, they're on the less congested side of Zone. They don't see anyone, but that also has implications. You don't get the damage done, and you can see that in the last game. They were struggling for tags. Of course, we saw King and Ed doing the exact same thing, but they were able to find as many eliminations and as many tags as they possibly could, which kept them afloat. Unfortunately for Commandment and Avery, though, it didn't quite work out. I've got so many questions to ask, and who better to ask them themselves? Kelly, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mini Miner. Joining me right now, I have Commandment and Avery. And Avery, I got to ask you, man, how do you feel about game number one?
Surge was pretty rough. We had to run through Hauler's shield pretty early, so we died on half zone. But we still managed to get 8 points for first game, just testing the grounds.
Well, good luck in that next game, guys. I'm sure you're going to be doing a lot better. I'm going to be joining over here Acorn and Edgy, guys. That second place finish, what was going through your mind once you had that solo run?
I mean, honestly, it was all Acorn. Like, I didn't even do anything, to be honest. He's just the best player in the world.
Yeah, man, what was going through your mind?
I know I had chromes, and I was like, I'm 100% going to get top 2 here. No, I was confident, and it went my way.
I love it. Congratulations, guys. You have a great start to the competition. Let's head on back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Kelly, and of course, Mini Miner, and shout-outs to the players. That was just game number 1. Now, this looks a little deceiving, right? For a moment, we celebrated Cammy and Setting. We think, okay, they got the victory royale, big deal. Yeah. However, Acorn there, it's okay. They didn't get the victory royale, but that's not what they needed, right? They just needed to place high.
Yeah, of course. You know, Acorn, you can hear it out of Edgy right there. Best player in the world. Love that confidence coming out of the teammate. But again, you know, one of those solo clutches that we kind of saw was from Cool and Yuman. I think it was Cool specifically getting into that endgame, securing that 3rd place position. And we could saw it at one point in time. He was like in that 1v2 situation in that box fight, and he comes out on top and just transitions that all the way towards that 3rd place position.
You don't become FNCS champions without having this kind of a collective measure when it comes to your mental discipline inside of these block fights. And not to mention the fact that they also had 7 elims to boot to close this one out. So not only are they placing high, but they're also making sure to capitalize on those elims as well. And it is everything when you're able to try and establish these early leads, because this is a very competitive lobby. And I think, if anything, game 1 is only amped me up even more to see what these players are going to do.
Yeah, the individual performances coming out, and that's what matters so much on these stages. You know, we saw last season on the NA East region, Commandment is the one that won it with his solo clutch. So every single solo performance matters tenfold.
That's right. I want to take a look at our standings once again. And again, don't freak out. This is just game number 1. This is our feeler game, right? From here, we make adjustments and we make the changes we need to succeed. Cammy and Seti, they did win game number 1. But with only 6 eliminations, they're currently sitting at the 44 points. As we kind of start to go top to bottom, you know, we did watch Queasy and Vino. They did try and take height. But I'm curious as to, like, what you feel kind of happened. How did that all unfold? The height take looked good, but something went wrong.
So we knew this was coming, right? We knew Queasy and Vino were going for the higher gun, and they had it going into that first moving zone. And then all of a sudden, we were checking it out. You know, Runa and Pepper are all of a sudden on the higher ground, and Queasy and Vino are like, all right, fine, we'll give it up. And then, like, 5 seconds later, I look back up, and Queasy and Vino are back on height. So, you know, they had the strategies there. Ultimately, Cammy and Seti just found the best of them, though.
That's right. Really quickly, let's go on over to our friends Kelly and Adam, who are standing by on the stage.
Thank you very much, Zeke. Guys, are we having a good time? All right, we're looking good. Game 1 is done, and game 2 is imminent.
However, we need your help, everyone, because our battle bus is out of gas, and we power it with hype. So in the count of 3, I'm going to need you to get as loud as you can possibly get.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Let us in! Come on! Keep going. Fantastic. You look beautiful out there. It's time for game number 2. Now that's how you kick off a battle bus, Jacob. Whoa, the crowd is really coming together for that one.
Yep, and Acorn clutching it up by himself as a solo. Cool, and Yumi from NA West. But you got to give it up to EU, Cammy, and Seti taking that top spot, and they're really putting the lobby on notice. Hey, we came to play. We came to take over.
So much representation from all of the players showing up in that last game there. NA West, NA East, Asia, EU, of course. You saw what they were able to do there. And again, that is what makes this all worth it. That is why we tune in for these moments.
Yeah, but that was just game number 1. Sure. I'm pretty sure with game number 2 right around the corner, the nerves are beginning to settle. The players have figured out how the lobby is going to be. And one of the things I've noticed after that first game, everybody is stingy with Storm Surge damage.
That's right. But listen, the show must go on. Let's just go ahead and keep things rolling.
Thank you guys so much. We're trying to get our players back on that battle bus so we can start game number 2. Now that we have a moment here to just breathe, the biggest thing I think on a lot of these players' mind, as you even saw some of them talk about in their interviews, Storm Surge. This is something that a lot of these players, they try to overcome, and now they have to double adapt. Not just adapt to their own meta and the way they're used to playing Storm Surge, but how other duos ahead of them, next to them, behind them, may be doing the same thing.
Every single time in Fortnite that we have like a set lobby over the course of X amount of games, game 1 is always the most stacked. And we saw it right there. It was like the flip of a coin. All of a sudden, the lobby, the amount of players left alive just crashed instantly because so many of them needed to fight for it. But one thing that I did see in that early game right there, a lot of balloons were being used. A lot of the players poisoned themselves all the way up there in the sky, then using those hammer assault rifles primarily to get tags in the early game. And then anybody that wasn't really doing that, unfortunately, just had to force a fight later on in the game. Like, for example, we saw Epic Whale and Reek go down because of one of those fights.
Look, it might have been Cammy and Seti that actually closed out the lobby, but it was Muzz and Looter who got the action going for us because we did see a decent amount of hesitation. It's kind of expected, I think. Game number 1 here at the FNCS Invitational, nobody wants to be the first one out, but unfortunately, for Smite and Larson, that was the case because Looter and Muzz actually winning out the immediate trade, and this is one of the POIs that we touched on at the start because we knew that Grim Gables is going to be popping. We knew that Muzz and Looter have the experience to tango with the other regions.
You want to know something? This is what I love because, you know, we're talking about how some of these all-spawn situations are going to go down. And, you know, I was talking with some of the other analysts, and Taco included, and Muzz and Looter was like, you know, I think this might actually, you know, play into their favor being contested all spawn because, you know, Looter himself said NA East has been way harder than OC. He thinks there's a lot more talent over here. And then Storm Surge was one of the things that he was most worried about. So the fact that they ended up being contested, and that game is a great example. They get that early damage done, those early eliminations, and they're set for the rest of the game. They don't even have to worry about their biggest worry coming into the Invitational.
Another duo that had a tough time getting going, Mr. Savage. It took a fight that maybe didn't quite go the way it was anticipating. Let's take a look at some of the replays and kind of talk about what we're seeing.
That one was definitely a bit of a heartbreaking moment because when a duo that hasn't even naturally been practicing this all-spawn situation up until recently challenges you and beats you. iDrop said it himself in the pre-game interview. I've been dropping here uncontested for the past year. It's not going to change the outcome, and yet we're witnessing the downfall of iDrop and Mr. Savage.
Yeah, and honestly, shout out to On1 right there because, you know, the discipline, right? Sometimes when you go to clear buildings, you're kind of just running down the staircase or running through corridors, and you're just like, I'll be fine, I don't hear him, I haven't seen him here. But no, he actually pre-builds off the wall, the floor, he catches Savage trying to go for a sneaky little shot, and Savage at that point is just kind of caught in this box, and On1 cleans it up after placing that wall to make sure Savage can't get any control over any of those builds. So really well played from On1 for sure.
And something that's also worth considering, I think, for Mr. Savage and iDrop now is you have to remember when you have so much information out there on how you like to drop, loot, and land this spot, like what we've witnessed from this duo, I think that that is pertinent information because I would be very surprised if On1 and Vaca haven't been utilizing a lot of VOD review to their favor leading into this.
Yeah, I mean, iDrop himself said he's been laying here for 12 months, so there is a lot out there on it.
Yeah.
Now the question is, do we get the repeat of this again? Will we watch this happen again? Do we think they're going to change something up? Do they feel now like they have to try to take this fight?
You know, I think that, you know, the players, especially up there, they are pretty set on going for the fight. So I think we're just going to see a fight happen again. But, you know, game one jitters are kind of out of the way. If you get eliminated early in a game, you kind of can just sit there, right? You can mentally reset. You know, obviously some of it's going to start to wear down on your mental a little bit. But, you know, you can full reset, maybe come up with a new strategy with your duo, kind of talk to them in that meantime. You pretty much had that whole game to talk strategy and kind of, you know, mention what went wrong, you think.
Exactly. It's not the end of the world by any means because we are literally only one game through. We still have 5 left to go. There is ample opportunity here, not just for the players to have a chance to, I think, boost their placement points on the leaderboard, but also it's just the simple fact that they can make the tiny adjustments that they need to. As far as iDrop and Mr. Savage are concerned, now I think they're a lot more wary of the fact that All1 and Baka, they're definitely willing to take a super early engagement. They don't care about the fact that it's the first 3 zones. Both of these duos, I think, are going to continue trying to look to establish their surge management early on.
And I love the terminology used right there, more aware, right? Because, you know, again, On1 just recently decided to land here like 2 days ago. So it's like, whoa, for Mr. Savage and iDrop. We had no idea. There's no information because this duo hasn't really landed here before. But now, game 1, the information is starting to reveal itself. On1 is obviously, you know, leaking some of those things just naturally as he plays through the games. And we know that Savage and iDrop are very well experienced. So they should be able to turn that into something positive.
Yeah, it's not kind of like the one beats all, right? There is going to be this back and forth that continues to develop. And it's kind of what we talked about like at the beginning of shows, that adaptability factor. How many duos could just say, okay, this went wrong, let's go ahead and change these things so that doesn't happen again, right? Fortnite is primarily a game of what you would call RNG, right? You landed a POI, what's there? Where are the chests? Where's the guns? Where's the builds? And for these duos, they're trying to limit as much of that as possible, right? They want to find that spot. Hey, I know there's a gun here every time. I know if I hit this building as I open this door, pick up this thing, I'll have 10 builds. That's a wall I can use to defend myself if I'm jumped, right? So I'm excited to see how in game 2, a lot of these duos look to say, what do we got to do differently?
Well, for Beppo and Runa, I was actually very happy to see that they were the ones that initially started off at that Lustrous Lagoon. And again, that was an uncontested drop spot for them. You're talking about loot, you're talking about resources, Zeke, and there is ample of it at Lustrous Lagoon. A lot of these players have even been talking about the fact that it's kind of crazy that they have gone this entire time leading up to the event without anyone wanting to establish an immediate contest at that POI. So I like the fact that they were able to hang in that top 10 leaderboard as well, really representing their region, I think, excellently there, because the fact is there was a lot of traffic coming their way due to the way that the zones ended up pulling towards that north side. So the fact that they were able to not only stay in that surge management position despite being uncontested, but they also just made do with what they were given there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool to see that they actually also took the high ground from none other than Queasy and Vito in that endgame. Ultimately, yeah, they did end up losing it, but I want to see more of that, right? Just because you lost at just this one game, you may have a very good strategy that takes out, you know, something that Queasy and Vino aren't used to, and that's kind of that multi-regional invitational that is just so good, and all the strategies start to come out and catch players by surprise.
You'll love to see it. This is just kind of our insights here from the desk, but we also have Mini Miner standing by to get his thoughts on that game.
Absolutely, Zeke. It's not just me, it's Takata alongside me as well. Now, we've been watching all of this action unfold behind the scenes. We've been able to see some extra POVs, Takata. It's been intense, right? We've seen some crazy plays.
Look, players from all around the world, it's what I love to see these players shine, right? Zagu and Miram, they were fragging out, Mini. They got, what, almost 8 eliminations in that match? Even players from the West Coast, Cool and Yumi, they were also popping off in that late game. And what's going on with Seti and Cammy? Up in the clouds, right? We never seen them up there, right? Playing up top, it's something that you love to see in game 1 of an international event like this.
And this is what the invitation is all about, right? We have so many different players from so many different regions, bring different strategies, but it can all change. As we talked about earlier, things can change so quickly. Cammy and Seti on the high ground, what's going on? This is crazy, but of course, Cool and Yumi as well, you mentioned it, right? I had a few questions to ask about their surge. I actually spoke to them in person in the player area, and they said, we have all the answers, Mini Miner, don't worry, don't be concerned. And I was like, mate, you carry on. You know, you do it, mate, if that's what they're gonna do, and they're pulling out all the stops today.
I mean, they proved it, right? The way they played that late game, they were ready to dominate. But I mean, Seti, Cammy up top, I think that was more of like a situational thing, right? We had Queasy Vino earlier up top on the high ground, but then Seti and Cammy saw the opportunity and they striked, right? I don't think it's going to be an every game type scenario for this duo. We know they like the consistency, so I wouldn't, you know, be surprised if they switch it up a bit, but I'm excited to see what they continue to do.
I am very excited as well. I'm sure as are the devs. Let's throw it back to them to see what they think.
Take a moment to highlight on screen right now, Zagu and Miram coming out of Japan. These guys were just looking so good. 7 eliminations there in that game with a 41 total point. Now, this is just out of game 1. And I mean, consider, we kind of talked about it. They're contesting Commandment and Avery over in Rave Cave, and they were allowed to leave Rave Cave.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I think that that's pretty much what we can expect, but something that I did not expect, and my eyebrows, they went up, right? I raised them. That stat sheet right there. They did 2,200 plus damage this game. That is incredible. You can see it right here. A lot of it coming from this end game, actually picking up a plethora of eliminations. Their box fighting skills seem to be catching a lot of these players off guard in the game. Woo, look at that.
Absolutely crispy and cooking inside of these boxes. It's looking like a full-on barbecue right now with Zaga and Mareem, the way that they were just lighting it up inside of that low ground congestion. Not only that, but I just love seeing how poised they are after that finish. They have not lost sight by any means. They know exactly what's on the line here as far as regional representation is concerned, and you absolutely love to just see that energy kind of be reflected in their gameplay.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you mentioned energy. I've been seeing them walk around the player lounge, everything like that. You know, the walkouts, they always seem so happy, right? They're so happy to be here, and they seem confident as well. There's never really like a, you know, oh, we're worried to be here. No, they're just fully embracing it, and we can see it right there in game number 1. They came on top pretty much.
When you have performances like that, I can imagine why they're so confident. Because again, I think a lot of duos may not have necessarily been anticipating some of this aggression that we are witnessing right now in game 1 from the other international regions. But at the very least, I do expect a little bit of a bite back from NA East, West, and EU.
I think for me, I'm looking forward to seeing how many more duels try to go for height, right? For in this instance, Zaga and Mareem, they were just in that mid ground. They didn't even care about high ground. They're like, exactly. No, you guys battled out. We want more eliminations. We'll stay right here. Do you guys think that maybe more duels will look to just say, like, look, our kind of strategy to win is that high ground. We got to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. We saw a lot of teams that actually like to play the high ground. Unfortunately, not making it into that game. They went down a little bit early. Like, for example, Aqua and Reason. Jason and Chabex also went down. Another one, Alex and Bailey, we talked about them from OCE. They love to play the high ground, and they just all really, so it could change.
That are located on the second page already for the leaderboard. You got Thomas HD and Trippard, Pink and Anas. Again, I think Vico and Benign have been really exciting to kind of follow along with, especially since they're relatively newly formed here for the FNCS Invitational. I don't think that is an easy feat by any means to have to quickly adapt to your partner.
100%. And listen, I can't believe it, actually, because Clix and Duke were actually popping off towards that end game, right? And, you know, the crowd was going crazy. We on the desk were like, wow, they're really showing up right now. And, you know, on that leaderboard, it's really showing as well, finding those eliminations on big name teams as well. They're coming into the Invitational with the experience, and it's showing.
How many of these duos are thinking to themselves, game 2, I'm ready. I have that strategy locked in. I think I know what I need to do to get going, because I want to make the crowd here in the Raleigh Convention Center just lose their mind when we're taking shots. Because, man, there was some eliminations happening, and I was just on my feet screaming with the crowd.
You know, straight up, ultimately, it's going to be based on an individual level, I think. You know, how good are you and how good is your mental at taking something that could be negative and turning it into something positive? Because, you know, not everything went right for any duo of that game, so they have to think about those things and like, okay, what can we do? What have we scrimmed before that has kind of helped us throughout these situations? Just make those changes come into game number 2. But there's also duos, plenty of them, especially the top 10 on the leaderboard, who, you know, found things that worked for them. So keep doing those things, but again, not everything went perfect, so keep that in mind.
But nerves aside, as the games go on, it's going to start feeling more and more natural, I think, for a lot of these players. You're going
100%.
to start being able to focus in a lot more on the actual gameplay itself, and I think that's where the audience just becomes a little bit of background noise until it comes down to those final moments. But something that I'm really curious to see is whether or not these players are actually going to showcase some of their flexibility or adaptability, because Murstache Malibuka, I think they're a great example of a duo where they can go a game or 2 or 3 without really being able to catch anything, and then they just turn up.
That's right. We've heard from us. We've heard from Mini Miner and Tokata. Let's throw it on over to casters to hear their thoughts on game number 1.
Thank you so much for that quick, of course, toss there so we can start getting into our perspective here. I mean, Jacob, let's talk about what we know just coming out of game one.
Yeah, I mean, what we know, NA West, Cool and Yumi showing up big. Not only getting that third place finish, but you saw that 2v1 off the back of Cool. Another thing, Acorn, NA in general is just kind of showing up. Obviously, EU won the game, but I think we need to start giving NA more credit.
Yeah, definitely have to give them that credit. They show up and then wait for them to win those early engagements.
Yep.
I mean, listen, we got to sit in the player lounge, quite literally stand over the shoulders of Onwon and Baka while they were practicing. They took on the likes. You know who they're training against?
Who are they training?
Reet and Epic Whale. That's their training partners. And I don't know about you, but if you were following Twitter, I posted a little clip of Reet taking on Murstache and Malabuka. So it kind of all ties together if Murstache and Malabuka are known as some of their greats. And then Onwon and Baka could hold their toe-to-toe with someone like Reet. I mean, it all just starts to make sense.
You know what I'm loving out of all that, though? You talked about the two partners, right? Onwon and Baka, and who they're sparring, inter-region training, and that's something I love to see.
That's right, and of course, the upsets, right? We saw a couple edge battles there. Booga and Miro taken out so early. This is one of the things we didn't really get to talk about. You would think that a team like Booga and Miro, who have drilled and trained their draw spot so perfectly, they almost have it conditioned, this should be another walk in the park situation for them. What do you think went wrong as they were rotating out? Because it seems like they fit into Macwood and Kanata. That was the big
developing your strategies around the meta of the lobby. And, you know, who better to do it than the 100 of the best players from around all of the world?
Look at them zeroing in right now, Vivid. They are so amped. They are focused. the tension is real.
The tension is beyond real, and not only that, but I kind of want to touch on Bugha and Miro. We saw that little listen-in instance between the two of them, and were it any other duo, I think there might be some room for concern, but Bugha and Miro, I think, are an exclusive case, because Miro specifically, this guy is a 5 times FNCS champion, and yet, out of all the FNCS finals that he has competed in, he has only ever collected 3 victory royales.
Wow.
So it is a primary example of the fact that high ground can win games, but low ground could possibly win championships. And that moment in game number 1, while it wasn't able to go in their favor because they were struggling with surge management along with some of the other duos, again, they're able to make it happen.
All right, we've broken it all down. We had game 1 wrapped up, it's gone. Game 2 is here, it's now, the battle bus is ready, the players are on board. Let us get this started.
Here we have it. Thank you so much, Zeke. We get to start gearing up for this battle bus to take off now.
Yeah, this is finally setting in for a lot of these players on the stage. Game number 2 is starting right now, and hopefully all those nerves from the end of game number 1 have settled, because now when push comes to shove, some of these players that might be at the bottom of the leaderboard, Mr. Savage, iDrop, that went down early, they might have to start dealing with that storm surge early.
shotgun that moment. Duke does not let it drop. Now, mind you, Clix has some of the greatest track record in history of taking on head-to-head battles like this. This is why he is so recognized as one of the greats of the space in these kind of moments.
This is where these guys, 66% of their overall victory royales do come from the low ground. The Pekin and Oz, they're just trying to keep a little bit of elevation. They're not ultimate high ground, 3-4 boxes big. They're just trying to keep that advantageous position as long as they can. But this monster, this one's dragging out a little too long. Do you think there's going to come a point in time where they just kind of abandon and try to get to the zone?
Well, I hope it continues because the rest of the lobby is just taking their time. 49 duos are still alive here, and this is one of the only ones deciding to go toe-to-toe. Clicks, once again, gets tagged there. And again, let's talk about the bad blood developing between these two. Pink and Clicks were once upon a time almost duos, as Pink was so close to traveling to United States to play alongside them, but now they find each other on the other sides of the monitor here, going head-to-head. And I mean, looking at the HP so far, it's looking very good for Guilds, NS, and Tundra's Pink.
Yeah, and honestly, let's talk about this prolonged fight and what happens if they do actually split right now. They're not going to have a lot of time to go ahead and mat up, but a big shot coming out from Clicks. We know what happens when this man has his back against the wall. His bite is much louder than his bark.
This is where Duke does tend to shine right now, these real scrappy types of engagements. This man does not tend to miss a shot. As now, they're looking. They know the enemies felt that on the other side of the wall, but hey, the longer they stay here, the less the less odds they have to actually survive. The longer story is, of course, making it to endgame. Let's jump on over, though, to our favorites of Miro and Booga here. Head-to-head with Z Andy, Joe FN, Bevy in the distance as well. There's so much going on here.
Yeah, for them, we saw that replay of last game during the listen-in. They were just dealing with Storm Surge and not the best way. Even though they were about 50 above, that's not the position you want to be in. But you can see Booga and Mero have a 60-plus win rate when contested. So they just need to find their rhythm here on this international stage.
Talking about international stage, Alex and Bailey, they have taken this from the player lounge to the main stage. Game 2 now, the fight, the second time. The story won't be the same. It's Yusri who finds the trade there and now has to protect his teammate. A huge shot onto Bailey. It's not looking good for Oceania's champions here, but Bailey waits for the toe-to-toe. He gets the thirst, he needs the points. That's a kind of play you only see in person. A huge shot. Bailey says, respect me, Yusri, back up.
He has some heals to use, but does he have the time? Not finding a way to stabilize. Bailey's going to get in, but only a sliver of HP, and that's why he's picking and choosing his fights right now. He's just going for piece control first, trying to heal up, getting as much shield as he can, but you can see he has no HP to regain, so that knock on the Jew is so important.
And he knows he cannot allow him to get the heal off here. You will not save your teammate if it's up to Bailey. Yusri may have the health advantage, but Yusri has his back against the wall right now. The defensive trade, a huge shot, and Bailey gets caught with his pickaxe out. Yusri clutches up, saves his teammate, and they are in game 2.
Sends him back to the lobby. But third place, NA West, Cool Yumi getting busy already. Elimination on the Wax. Now it's up to Rob Bob, trying to stay alive here, trying to get and find a position to where he can hide. You see it in the mini-map. He just got out, and I love that play coming out from some of these players, choosing not to be the hero, because you end up in the hero in the wrong position, you're end up going to be a 0.
Now, Robab doesn't have a lot of experience here. They've only made 2 finals together between Wax and Robot, but there's a huge development happening here. Let's watch this back one more time. Here's how it kicks off. Cool fan, the huge tag, all of a sudden the knock is there. And yes, there was a third party in the side. You get the reaction as well. You can see how fans are cheering in support of one another, but back into the action. Hellfire, Falconer, new duo, pairing up with one another.
They already took down King, so this has got to be Ed coming out from Brazil. EU, NA West, trying to take down the region, trying to bolster their points, because right now the only points they have is that elimination onto King. But with Storm now covering and moving over them, Ultimate Teams now in the distance as well, it's going to become more and more dangerous.
Softair's one of the only competitors, one of the very few left in our scene that has been here since the World Cup. He placed 5th in duos way back when. Wait for him to step up to the challenge and take on this first FNCS Finals ever together alongside Hellfire there from Denmark. But on one Mbaka, did they get the save off?
No, I think On was there by himself. He's just trying to stay alive, and it does look like Larson and Smite might know he's there. And this is where On1 has to be very, very careful. Fighting in the storm with very little HP. Larson knocking on the door, trying to burst his way in. You see the bait and switch come through, trying to make sure that both of these players have enough HP to take a big shot from On1 and continue that bait and switch, but he is on the run.
What a tough story for On1 and Baka. Such a great and strong showing in game one. He loses his teammate to Mr. Savage out the gate, survives, saves them, but Smite and Larson, who are contested here by Looter and Muzz, are still in the zone, and they meet him, and that's how they get this first elim. So it's only a matter of time now as that clock rages on. Smite steps up. There it is. The zone does the rest, and they will find their second elim now, wiping up one of the greats from NA West.
Now they got to go ahead and travel to zone, but back on board, Falconer and Hellfire, but let's just make it Hellfire because Ed was able to take down Falconer in a 1v2 situation. Now he's 1v1 versus EU. Brazil trying to stand up tall. Ed put the pressure onto those covers, but he knows when to pick and choose his fights. He hears the splashes coming out. He knows that's going on to Falconer. The shield keg as well. He's trying to stop as much of the heals from going through, but it does look like Hellfire is going to get 200 yet again.
Listen, Ed recently signed a team Liquid, showing you guys why exactly he deserves to be here. He has had some of the most impressive rises in recent times on his region, but now he's looking to represent for Brazil. And of course for Argentina, his teammate King, who is already down. Hellfire manages to lose his teammate. The wall gets taken, and Hellfire has to react quickly, but look at that. He does not miss a beat. Ed finds the siphon, and now it's an even exchange.
Yep. Right now, the two launch pads on the Hellfire. He can abandon this fight at a moment's notice.
Here it
but
is.
Ed with no HP, it's all or nothing.
Here it
This is the moment you've been waiting for.
Here it
Shots
is.
coming through, and Ed 1v2s NA East.
Brazil and Argentina are probably standing on their feet right now. Ed clutches up a 1v2.
Oh my gosh, and if somehow, some way, he found a way to get King's card, but they're on over to Chonker Speedway. The action will continue. Reason and Aqua going up against Hen and Bevy and Vortexers. They have a lot of practice going against each other on the EU region, so this is no strange fight to them.
What's scary about this is the fact that they've rotated out of the condo down to the territory of Booga and Miro at Chonker Speedway. And yes, they get met with this incredible duo, but it shows you that no one is safe. This entire area is such a deadly play zone, and now you have Reason with the scraps, with his back against the wall, below the Storm Surge, absolutely ready to commit to this battle.
Yep, Aqua and Reason again, 140 below the damage threshold. And you can see all the players at the top of the damage threshold, but this is, again, what is going to happen at Cloudy Condos. A triple contested spot, but nobody is fighting. That's forcing these players to rotate away to find some extra loot and find the damage. And 165 below, Monster, I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't nervous.
Copenhagen Flames, Pablo and Swag on your screen right now, also below, but hey, a good little tag here of Elim for Swag right now, puts him in a nice position. They found a player out in the distance. Snacky and Fast have a window open there, focusing on the duo as well. So they're all looking to target Noah Riley and Bad Sniper. Remember, Noah Riley was eliminated very early to the hands of Edgy while they were landing, and he didn't even get to touch down before he was swatted out the sky.
And game number one winners, Cammy and Steady. They haven't even done much. They get the zone for now. They get the high ground, probably just trying to go for Surge. So that way when they are forced to rotate, they only have to worry about that. But we knew they were down onto Surge. Now the Peace Control is trying to come over. They're trying to break into the boxes. It's now or never because damage is being dished. A huge shot from Aqua's onto Bevy, who's forced back into a defensive position.
Well, here we go. It's now enough in 20 seconds left, but so the Surge gets active, and they have to turn up right now. This is game number 2. Aqua needs these points here. Bevy's manages to go ahead and chug splash his way down. He's back up to max HP. He's looking pretty solid, but Aqua not afraid by any means. Meanwhile, Reason finds a wall. That's an angle, but he doesn't like the defensive edit. That responds from Bevy and Vortexer. And now, here it is. Things are going to get dicey as the Storm Surge turns on.
Yeah, look at them. You can see 30 below. Even though they're continuously dropping, they're doing damage. Seti getting one on a Peppo, probably sending him back to the lobby. A Scram goes down as well. Acorn found a way to get rebooted, but Deja Vu strikes. He goes down again to Epic Whale, who honestly is having a much better performance this go-around.
But back into the action here. Reason now down to no HP. Aqua is also on the defensive stance here. Down goes Reason. That's a huge shotgun shot from Vortexer from the side. If you blinked, you missed it, and now Aqua has all the pressure on his shoulders. He has to back up. But Vortexer playing smart, respecting the GOAT of EU. Aqua here, our World Cup duo champion. is now left as a solo. Clock's ticking here, the pressure comes in, Bevies looking for any angle. These are all enemy walls here. One false move and it could be it, but the surge is gonna hurt Aqua again. He gets to heal off and no, he gets finished. Vortexer finds the second.
500 above the damage threshold. This is only their second FNCS playing together, and they're looking like they are longtime teammates already. As Joe and Z Andy, uncontested, over towards Synapse Station, looking to get some damage as well. Even though 79 is above the damage threshold, you know as well as I do, that is absolutely nothing.
Vixen and Arctor here. Oh, no, they're going to find a huge elimination here. Another surge fight that's going down. It's tracking the flies in the distance there. You see folks starting to look over. Arctor has a decision to make. Does he push in again? They barely have anything. They've used all their heals. One tag is all it's going to take for take them out. Oh, Kroll claps back, though, and that's a huge punishment there. And with the downed body, he says, you know what? I'm going to full finish here. I'm back in this game. Arctor takes off running for the hills.
That was a much needed battle by Grolls, and I like to play again. You cannot be a hero in these lobbies as first dash. Looking like he's having a little bit of trouble here. 202 above the damage threshold. 2 eliminations already, so they finished this fight, but you can see the teams on the outskirts of Rocky Reels, they don't want to let this be an easy rotation to one of the deadliest teams in the lobby.
The launch pad's already down. Malibu and Murstache cap off HP and hit it. Off they go. It's Chicho and Trulix who are looking in. These guys have gone head-to-head so many times in the past, and you know there is all types of bad stories waiting to unfold in front of us. But Chicho and Trulix don't get the elim. They manage to hit the ground running. Malibu and Murstache are waiting here, though. Oh, yeah. Time to fight back.
Malibu just trying to break through. He talked about in some of those interviews playing a little bit more passive than what he's used to. 2 eliminations. I gotta think they're trying to pick and choose a lot of their battles, but the lobby is putting such a focus onto these 2, getting them to expend so many resources. Malabuka has just about 60 to 70 HP as well. Murstache is trying to do what he can to try to find a stabilization method here, but it's just happening from so many different players who have so many different angles.
One thing that is working, though, is the zone. It pulls pretty close to all the players nearby. Finally, things settle down. Tayson and Traffic's last game found the same duo on the edge, but let's jump on over to the west side. Let's get to the opposite side. It's Thomas HD and Tripburn. What a great standing so far here, looking pretty solid. They have Janice and Vidil weakened nearby. Booga and Miro are also making it much further this game, looking like they've adjusted, learned from their last mistakes, but here we go, that familiar story, 3 above.
Yeah, and you can kind of see in the circle is, the zone is literally in the center of the zone, so I don't think there's going to be too much of any slow side for a lot of these teams to try to travel to. Is Miro taking a couple of shots, but the team that went off spawn trying to have a much better performance. Mr. Savage and Eyedropper under siege, under pressure. Mr. Savage is going to get dropped for now, trying to pass on the resources to Eyedrop because he knows he's going to have to deal with a lot.
That's Norway on his back here. Eyedrop has to step up. Savage is down. Can he do it? He's been in so many finals with Mr. Savage. His 3rd appearance now in a big setting like this. But of course, the first return to in-person. They're going to allow. Marine might actually allow him to get the pickup. Whoa, that is a huge mistake there.
Yeah, a huge mistake. And honestly, these are one of those things that you take a picture, you record this moment right here. Mr. Savage went down. You give a player like that a second chance at life, they will make you regret it. As they're trying to launch pad away, trying to find some sort of safety. Sticking box to box, hip to hip, landing on a couple more resources as well. This is a perfect spot to land at for Eyedrop and Mr. Savage. That way they can replenish some of the lost resources.
Such a massive find right there. It was looking like it was all over for a moment. But there, they get a little lucky. Smite and Larson at 4 elims now. It seems like as all the action, as all the cooks jumped into the kitchen, they have managed to walk away with a successful meal or 2. They're looking pretty good.
4 elims, like you said. Clown Ref Scar just a little bit above him. You just check a sneak peek at the leaderboard. Cammy and Seti still holding on to first place by 7 to Asia's Marim and Zagu. 151 above for the NA West. 3-time champions, Favs and Snacky, sitting in a good spot, trying to gather the information. But Vidil and Janice are under pressure. With Vidil down, 56 below the damage threshold. Shots from Thomas HD to take down another EU powerhouse.
And in the distance, Japan is just lurking nearby. Asia has performed so well. Remember, Marim and Zagu are in 2nd place as the most recent FNCS champions of the Asia region. Queasy and Vino, though, big story in front of them. This is a team that we have expected to come out so far ahead of the competition, as they have had one of the more dominating tracks leading into this, taking home a multitude of Elite Cup finals where the competition, as we know it, is extremely tough. Meanwhile, Smite and Larson, battle's breaking out above them. They get to steal the loot here. That's a great find.
Yeah, that's a huge find for them. You get to upgrade some of your inventory, get some more heals. The Chrome Splash probably going to be used a little bit later just to get that rotation to come through. For them, they found a huge amount of resources. That way they could try to make it towards the next end game. But you see Storm Surge just still affecting so many teams.
Tough spot to be in there for Larson as he misses the heal. And Anas and Pink go down from the high ground. It's Vortex in hand. They are just turning this lobby upside down right now. Queasy and Vino are back at it again, though, in this end game here, trying to find a position. Now, remember, what they did in the last game was exactly this. Half in, half out. They say, hey, we're going to play for high ground. Vortex says, all right, you can have it. Hen says, you can have it. I'm going to low.
Yep, I gotta be careful here. Queasy and Vino both know 6th moving zone, which is about to happen here shortly, is one of those zones to where, yeah, you might have the high ground now, but with the amount of launch pads going around, the amount of threats that are in this lobby, you might have to stagger your teammates one forward, one back, just to make sure nobody is able to sneak it away.
Well, it's looking like a tough situation right now for our champions, Mareem and Zagu. Once again, leading into this game, 2nd place. No heals. Very, very peculiar spot to be in. The zone pulls far south as well. Now, they have some mats, but they will absolutely need a refresher right now. Maybe even a gifted launch pad from a team in the distance. All around them are so many healthy players. On the other side, Vino and Queasy starting to eye up the lobby, size up the rest of this game here. Booga finds Mareem in the feed. There it is. The full finish is going to start to come through. The first elim for Booga and Miro.
This is where I'm looking at the mini-map right now, seeing where it's actually going to go. There's different elevations. I think whoever is able to grab a side of that mountain first will have the best chances to win this game overall, as they're still 500 above the damage threshold. Cammy, as soon as he lands, he's going to get back up to 200 along with Seti as well.
Kanata still alive in this game as well. Keep an eye out for him, but Seti and Cammy have to defend their lead right now. 3 elims, what a way to do it so far. Meanwhile, Queasy and Vino are still on hype. This is one of the toughest end zones as well. Flutter Barn has so much varying terrain. You have to be careful. There are indestructible, large stone monuments in between you and your rotate.
Kanata going down, leaving Macwood as a solo. They at least got 1 elimination, so they don't have to worry too much about damage in terms of Storm Surge. But Booga and Mero, as it does shut off, you saw they were well above it. So changing up their strategy, and it's paying off handedly.
The pacing is incredible right now. Only 19 duels remaining. Things have really taken a turn here for the worse for most. Reed's going to get burned and turned back to the lobby there as he falls, but that's still well inside the top 20. Meanwhile, Vino on high ground, looking very comfortable. No resistance. Larson and Smite are making up for where they left off. They may have not earned a huge game 1, but a great game 2. And now, Miro and Booga are fighting back.
Yeah, 2 of the big NA West powerhouses going down. They're trying to get another elimination, but Booga and Mero, huge shots going to be fired. But Miro's getting tagged back up. He needs that Siphon to go through, but it's still not going to be enough. PH then does go down. Booga